What's up, hobby friends, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. Now we've been getting up to some fun things. I think I always say that, but whatever. It's fun. And we're gonna talk about some hobbies. So, get your paint brushes ready, get your models all situated, ready to go. Sit down and let's talk some hobby. But before we get to that, really, I need to ask, Brent, what have you been up to the last few weeks? You painting some stuff.
Oh man, Casey, have I got updates for you. So we're going to start off, as we always do, with the Cabalite warriors from the Drukhari army of Warhammer 40k. I've been painting some Cabalite warriors, and I decided to give myself a little break because they are getting closer to done. And I went on over to my local Games Workshop Warhammer store because I wanted to see if I could buy some racks. Now, I love those, the Dark Eldar army, it's got the witches, it's got the Cabalite warriors, and it's got the weird torture victims, the racks and the homunculi, the prisoners who have been souped up by the crazy deranged minds of the Dark Eldar experimentalists. So I go in there because I gotta get a unit of racks. I gotta get this, I'll get my racks. I'll use some of the extra bits to mod up some flagellants. That's a word. I learned this.
Yeah, it is.
Mod up some flagellants, and then I'll have like a big unit of racks. So this is my plan, right? Anyway, the store that I go to locally, I have mentioned it on this show many times. It's become a stupid running joke because the guy doesn't recognize me and he very rarely has anything that I want to buy in the store. So I don't really know if this is an update or not, but I went there to get just a little bit of content for this episode. The guy didn't recognize me and he didn't have any racks in the store. And it wasn't that they were sold out of racks. It's just that they don't bother to carry the plastic basic troops for Dark Eldar. So I don't know, man.
There's a lot of armies like that, like where they carry a specific set amount of units, of types of units, like the forward facing faction stuff, right? They're like, well, this is the Dark Eldar. You want Cabalite warriors and you want those flying barges, right? You want those. That's why you're here. You're like, no, I want the sweet stuff. I want the good part of this army. My personal favorite part of that army, racks and wraiths and like the crazy stuff. Like they're Dark Eldar, right? They're cool. Yeah. But no, they're not. They don't tend to carry the really cool stuff. You got to like dig deep for that stuff in like special order,
Apparently. Now they did have like the Talos, which is like a giant war engine that has somehow to do with torture and steroids. I don't entirely understand
floating needle poker guys, Right. I think they're a bigger unit generally. They feel like they've been around. We're explaining
this very poorly, but it's like a tank that is somehow the result of torture and steroids. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A giant flesh blob with needles attached to it.
My rudimentary understanding of the Dark Eldar Codex is that you cannot include a Talos in your army if you don't have a homunculus and, a unit of racks, but they don't sell them racks at the Warhammer store, I can tell you that. They got the Talos there, but anyway, we can move on. There were some customers in the store. I wasn't there long enough for anybody to say anything, but they were making eye contact, like people in the store were like, I think that might be Brent. Yeah. That might be Brent over there. I might have just made it into an episode of Paint Bravely the podcast. Your one resource for what's the tagline for this show? To try new things and
discover, paint bravely and such.
I gave this guy a brief earful. I was like, you don't sell racks. You did the basic troops. You can't sell a Talos, but you don't sell racks. And he's like, no, but we. And then he's like trying to sell me other stuff. Like, no, I came in here with I just want the basic troops. It's okay. And then I left.
Yeah.
So Now, this gets into kind of social etiquette, especially when you're dealing with game stores. Like if I were to go into an independent game store and they didn't have exactly what I kind of had in mind, I'd find something else to buy. I'm there, want to support the store. But if it's a Warhammer store that just doesn't include the basic products for their most popular game, I'm not looking to ease my conscience by buying some scourges, you know.
Right. Yeah. Also a good unit though. I like those, the scourges. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I actually have I'm planning on going to my local Warhammer shop tomorrow. Because I've just got time. I'm gonna go like see a movie and then go stop in because the store's in the same like shopping mall, right? And I always enjoy going to my store. The manager knows my name. He watches my videos. Always asking about stuff, updates and whatnot, what I'm working on. He's very personable. He's a good dude. And he's the kind of person that I think he's worked at a lot of different stores, so he understands like the hobby side of like why you're coming into this store, right? It's like, well, you're hoping that we have that specific thing. And of course they don't always, but I think that the last time I was there, I was looking for some Death Guard units, some like Terminators or something, and they didn't have them, but he ended up calling like 2 other stores in town that are obviously not the Warhammer store just to look. So I didn't have to drive there. That's service. I like going to my Warhammer store.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, look, my guy is nice enough, but
sure,
I got to tell you, get better service at the Panera Bread next door. Like that's just always a much better experience. I just go in there a little bit angry, get myself a nice avocado, turkey, bacon club, and
right. See, that's more instant gratification too. Yeah. Like you get yourself a nice sandwich in like 5 minutes. You're just going to have a better time, right? Like, even if you go into a Warhammer store, you're like, man, I just spent $200 and now I have to build and paint all of this. Like, it's not instant gratification. Yeah. Better start by getting a sandwich. My Warhammer store has a fancy pizza place right next to it. Sells pizza by the slice.
Look, I've got better updates to share later in this video. I've actually created my best creation ever. And so stay tuned if you haven't already clicked off after 10 minutes of rambling about how my local Warhammer store is really not worth going to.
I mean, that's just how it is, right? It's like a super hit and miss thing, even with like hobby shops in general. I mean, you would expect something like on the basic troop level to be in the store, but this kind of also plays into something that I want to talk about a little bit later too. In kind of starting an army and then finding out that there's like way more to it than I realized, but we'll get there too. So yeah, but yeah, you made something incredible.
I did, and I don't know if we should save this for later or not. You know, kind of tease it out, get people to keep listening, so we can I don't know. Pretend like the episode gets better as it goes along.
Right, save the greatest Goobertown creation for last. I mean, that's probably
I just wanted to let some people know, like, this is a continuing storyline of will Brent find something of use at his local Warhammer store, and I feel like, you know, I need to keep putting in the effort. I need to, you know, hold up my side of that bargain by continuing to try every couple of months, like. Go in there with a reasonable shopping list of something they really should have, and just see if we can, you know, get that connection, get that easy win. Hasn't happened yet. One day.
As a complete aside that is also related, if you do happen to have a Warhammer store in your area and you can't find anything to buy, I almost always suggest look for the rubber mats that they sell that has like the Citadel logo on them, because they're like invaluable and they're like $10 in a GW store. Like, they're not expensive and they're absolutely worth it. They're like the rubbery mat things that you put down to, you know, catch paint and whatever. But I can't tell you how many times I've like not had a mess get out of control, especially for like 3D printing, because of these like rubber mats.
Okay, there's a recommendation.
Yeah, hot tip. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few things that you could normally pick up if you really feel like you need to buy something. You got your Agrax or the shades, your Nuln Oil, your little rubber holders so those don't immediately fall over on you and drain your money away. There's stuff worth picking up in there. But I've really come to the conclusion, like, if you go into a store, a chain store of a billion-dollar corporation, and they don't have what you're looking for, you're under no societal obligation to support them. Like, you can just say no thanks and walk out. You can say, oh, no, like this is what I was looking for, and you don't have it. I'll see you later. That's fine.
Yeah, because if I'm going into a you know, personally owned hobby shop or something, I'm definitely going to walk out with something.
Exactly. Yep, that's how I feel. Yep.
Yeah, so that's a good call. I think that I know it helps. Like we've talked about that before, and I've definitely gotten messages and stuff from like actual store owners. It's like, no, it really actually does help. Like that's what they're living off of. They have to have people do that. Like if you go into a hobby shop, even a bottle of paint, right? Like that's all. Everything helps.
Yeah. So, all right, give me an update, Casey. What's new with you?
All right. Well, okay, so this again, like I said, it's kind of branching off of that like unit thing, the weird side units. So I started painting some Astra Militarum or Acadians. And I got these in a big set of models that were donated, and I didn't really know what to do with them because I don't really like any of them. Like the commissars and the basic troops and the jungle fighters and the tanks and stuff. Like, they're very basic. And it really got me thinking, like, you know, what am I supposed to do with these? Like, I need to do something with them because I kind of feel like obligated to. And I kind of ran into this thing where, like, I decided I was going to paint them a little bit differently, like more of the way that I'd like to paint things, kind of dirty them up and make them, like, more grim dark, right? Which I think worked out, and I enjoyed doing that. But the surprise was when I started looking into this army even more, and I noticed something about Games Workshop stuff, especially, I guess specifically, that there are like deeper, darker sides of armies that they don't show. Like racks are a good example of that, right? It's like this kind of necessary unit, but it's not like you can just see it on a shelf, right?
Apparently not.
These Astra Militarum have some of the dorkiest and coolest models that I've seen in Warhammer in a long time, and they're like for sale on their shop right now. I found these like weird vein psychers with just like funny looking dudes in big robes carrying staffs and plasma pistols, but they're like, you know, touching their heads, like doing the psychic power thing, or like one of them's got this cool 1980s cyberpunk visor going on with like stuff popping out of his head. I don't know. It's like stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think represents the Astra Militarum how you see it. Like the Start Collecting box is like a squad of dudes and like a tank thing and like a military guy. And like that's all I ever thought that stuff was. But, you know, like I said, going in deeper, man, it starts to open up a weird world. I also bought some ratlings. Just the name itself, like, doesn't even make sense for this army. You seen those, the ratlings? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about with ratlings. I do. Yeah. They're very small. They're hobbits with sniper rifles, is my understanding.
Yeah. Hobbits with sniper rifles. Like, how stupid is that? That's amazing. Like, put those on the box. Give me those. Like, why aren't those front and center? Like, look, you can have this military dude. He's got, you know, the fancy outfit and the little poofy things on his shoulders and all that cool stuff. But then there's hobbits with sniper rifles. That's what I want.
Yeah, are those a troop choice or?
As far as I know, I looked on Battlescribe and it's like they're right in the list. You can pick them right now. Like a set of 5 of them are like $30. They're sweet. I don't know.
They are sweet.
I'm like kind of overly excited about this like discovery I've made, and I don't think it's like a huge revelation, but I feel pretty good about it. Like I finished painting like this Start Collecting box and some, and like I was like, okay, I can see how this is appealing for certain types of people, maybe who like historical wargaming that want to jump into this like universe, you know. But realistically, like it's just not really for me. Like I don't really care for the jungle fighters. I bought one just cause, but like I'm not gonna do anything with it, I don't think. I like Predator and stuff, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The decades of history for some of those armies really does have some value, because there are things buried in the past that are like, oh, actually this is way more what I'm into. And even if it is still a metal model or, God forbid, a resin model, you know, it's still an option, which is cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm finding more and more that I actually really like painting metal models. Like there's something about looking back at the old books that are like, oh, here's like a Golden Demon winner from, you know, 1995 or something. And it's like, you know what though? Like that's kind of attainable these days. Mm-hmm. Like I think I can get pretty close to that and like make it look cool. Mm-hmm. And like, especially when you're painting pewter models and stuff, it's like, these are kind of funky. So your paint job's going to look how the model looks. It's a little funky, but like it works. And if you can elevate that with some like modern science, you know, you got your airbrush out, you can do some fun stuff. It's like, wow, these models actually look pretty cool with that newer treatment. And I think that the simplicity of a lot of the older models really appeals to me. Like they're not overloaded in crap. They have like a couple little things and it's like, oh, that was actually like enjoyable to sit down in like a couple hours and paint a really cool model.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I'm getting more and more into that. And I think probably Relic Blade did that for me a little bit because like it felt very satisfying to paint something in like an hour that was like passable for me. It's like, all right, like I kind of want to do this more. So part of the appeal for sure of buying the Ratlings, and I got some of the Psychers and stuff, are that they're all pewter and they're older sculpts. So they have that kind of simplistic aesthetic to them that I enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely would suggest if you're in that point with, you know, like Space Marines or something, you're painting something from Games Workshop and it's just like, there's just too much stuff. Just like go back 20 years, find a model from then and paint that. I think you'd probably be surprised at how much more satisfying that can be in like an evening.
Yeah, man, I go back and forth on pewter models because they do chip a little bit easier and stuff like that. And they're heavier, so you're more likely to drop them in general, I think. But
it's true,
man, there's something to it. There's a timeless nature to them, even if they're new models. There's Yeah. There's a certain majesty to being cast in metal. I don't like it. And I spent part of today painting some gnomes from Relic Blade, and that was pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. That Yeah,
there you go. Like gnomes with sniper rifles or like blow dart sniper rifles. I'm not actually sure.
I think they're sniper rifles and grenades. The Grenadier is one of the models I was working on today. Right. Yeah, she's got a big old musket, and then I think like 4 or 5 grenades hooked on her somewhere. Yep.
I got that little guy right here.
And I also had the Relic Blade. I don't know. He's like a alchemist or something. It's like a gnome alchemist, but he's riding a fox.
Ooh.
And so he
really.
So in general, I like painting potions. Potions are really fun to paint. And you know, I watched my little Duncan tutorial video on that from 5 years ago or whatever, and it's great.
Still good, yeah.
You Paint the bottle a dark color, the liquid a lighter color, the meniscus of the liquid an even lighter color, a highlight, and then dot in a couple bubbles with the highlight color, and you got yourself a funky potion that looks pretty cool. And it's just an awesome way to balance some sweet colors around the model. Just there's a jar on the hip. What color do we need here on the hip? Boom, bright red. There you go.
I do find that like bottles and potions are a good place for like an extra color, like that spot color, just to bring in that kind of extra little bit of pop and color that you can place throughout the entire army to kind of tie it together. So even if you paint things like a little bit differently, he's got this like bright pink thing on his hip. Now they all have that. Now they're obviously from the same army. Like that's a thing that I try and do whenever I'm painting an army is pick something. The one I was working
on today, he's got like a ladle or like a wooden spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the internet went a little wonky there for us, so I don't know if we were talking at the same time. But anyway, Casey, as I was saying,
God.
This gnome has a wooden spoon, and he's got a potion in his wooden spoon, and he's using it as like a sling, and he's just flinging that thing as he's riding a fox, and he's got a bandolier of potions, and he's got a backpack full of potions, and potions hanging off of his backpack, and plus a gnome hat just to round it all off, and a stupid mustache because it was sculpted by Sean Sutter.
Because the mustache man. I thought it was actually just to bring it up, like, we met up with him and Malev at Adepticon, and like you didn't even really recognize Sean because he was wearing a mask, so you couldn't see the mustache. So you're like, wait, Sean? Is that? Oh yeah, no, I see it. He like kind of pulls it down and then pulls it back up.
Right.
That's like
the thing is, there's another guy at the booth. There's another guy helping him out at the booth who I didn't get a chance to meet or didn't take the opportunity to meet, but he kind of looks a lot like Sean, and he has a similar mustache. And I was about to go say hi to that gentleman, and just like, "What's up, Sean?" And then just Sean pulled down his mask next door.
That's funny. Oh man.
It's okay. I've embarrassed myself before. It's all right.
Right. It's just gonna happen again. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
So with all those Imperial Guards, are you painting them up all in like a unified theme, or are they just a bunch of weirdos, hobbits and psychers and?
Well, that's the eventual idea. I did start to buy the weird stuff because I'm just gonna build something like, the charcuterie warband of the Astra Militarum. Like I'm gonna do something stupid, and it's probably gonna be psychers and hobbits with sniper rifles. Like that sounds too good. But no, the stuff that I did paint, the normal stuff, like it was fun to paint. I got to try some things. I did like camo on the tanks, and that was kind of cool. Like I used silly putty to do that, which I've used silly putty in the past, but never to do something so specific. And like, man, that works really well.
Does it?
Like you just slap silly putty across, and then you paint those lines in, and then it comes right off in like perfect rounded edges. Like it's not all jaggy. You don't have to come back with a brush and do all this touch up. Like you can airbrush or brush over it, and it's fine. It's like it's a miracle. It's a miracle putty. I love it.
That is good to know right there. Oh.
Yeah. It's another hot tip for you, silly putty. If you have children,
you
just go steal their silly putty.
I saw you working on noodles over there with your silly putty, and it did look pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, that was where I brought it back. I haven't used silly putty in like a good year, but I was painting that giant zergling, so I had to get in on those panels. So using silly putty to mask that stuff off, like I've always used it as a masking tool for stuff like that, and like it works really well. I did enjoy painting that model too. That was a good one. And the previous owner, now owner again, sent me a very lovely letter, and it was really nice. And they were touched by the fact that I would send back the model, and they're already they're saying like, oh, we're already excited to like get back into it. like because they haven't had time, they couldn't do it, so they kind of offloaded this collection, which happens. That's fine. And my whole sentiment back to them was like, here, I'm gonna give you this model as just a reminder that the hobby will always be there, right? You can always come back whenever you have the time, whatever it is. It's not going anywhere. You can always pick up a paintbrush, whenever. And I took a super long break at one point too, and it's here we are, like back in the thick of it, right? So yeah, they were pretty happy about that, and that makes me feel pretty good. Yeah, I like that model. It was a good one.
Noodles looked pretty good. Pretty good. Noodles, the giant Trigon. Tyranid. Yeah.
Tyranid. Zergling. Whatever. Same thing.
That's the word.
Oh,
That's the word.
What, Zergling? It's just Tyranids from now on.
All right. I've got a brief topic here. Okay.
Hit me with it.
I haven't raised this issue with you yet, Casey. But some of my Pro Acryl paint, so I have previously said that I like Pro Acryl paints, but I want to just keep this living review going here. A couple of their bottle caps are breaking on me now. And
really?
I don't know if you've had the same defect, but kind of on the bottle cap where the threads kind of end and start to turn in towards the cone.
Sure. Right
along that rim. I've had two or three of my bottles now that's just broken, and so
really,
so this is my gray, my dark warm gray is kind of partially open to the air constantly right now. Ooh. I don't like it.
Gotta rebottle that bottle paint.
I know.
What
so
the hell?
I just wanted to put this observation out into the world that I'm having a couple of my bottle caps on my Pro Acryls break. And I'm curious to know if anybody else has had that experience, but it's at least two of my bottles. It might be three. I can't remember. But yeah, it's I don't know if this is like a thing or not. It's if this is happening to anybody else, I want to hear about it. I want these reviews to be accurate. We got to crowdsource this information.
Yeah, that. I haven't heard of that before, but that sounds like maybe the batch of plastic is not good for whatever tips you got.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
I haven't had any problems with mine, and I use them literally like every day. Man, that sucks. Like to have to rebottle like a decently bottled paint.
Right, and that's what I may need to do here.
Well, if it's busted, I suppose you could actually throw some super glue on there. Just kind of seal
otherwise,
it back up.
I was thinking about mix up some Milliput and
right.
do my plumbing fixtures repair.
Go at it hard, right? just overkill with some Milliput. I don't know if this plastic would be plastic glue friendly.
I need to buy some parafilm to like start wrapping around here. Yeah.
That's a bummer though. Like I would have actually thought that like at some point, because what I'm noticing is happening with mine is that like the more paint that builds up on the tip, like when you open it to squirt some paint out, if you don't remove that excess dry tip, like some of that can kind of start to creep down in to the threads. And like I could see that being an issue because now you're putting extra pressure when you close it down. It's like pushing down on the threads. And like I've had that issue where other bottles have broken because of that, and or like the top of the actual lid on like a Vallejo bottle is just popped off. Because of that extra paint. So that's kind of what I've been worried about, not something actually snapping off in the middle. So
yeah, it's more like a crack that's creeping along, and pretty soon just the cone at the top of the top is just going to fall off. But yeah, it's right where the threads of the top go onto the bottle.
Right.
But anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. That's my update on Pro Acryl. I'll be following this issue closely in the future.
Well, and if you have had that issue and you're listening to this, and if you go to youtube.com/paintbravely the podcast, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Yeah. That way Brent can not be the only one. because you can't, email the company and be like, these are broken if no one else has ever had that problem.
Well, I'm curious,
although it might be worth doing.
Because I feel like Pro Acryl's gotten a year or two of pretty much mostly very positive reviews. And I do like the paint. For me, it's just on the edge of being too watery for like out of the bottle for my preferences. Now, to be fair, the couple of bottles that are kind of partially open to the air right now, they're starting to get that right consistency.
I see what's going on here.
But I think they might pass the sweet zone here pretty soon.
It's gonna go bad real quick. That's true. That's probably my only complaint is like putting them on a wet palette. Like if I can't leave them overnight. Like they're good for working for like the day that I'm working with them, and they do last longer on a wet palette than not. So, wet palette's still the way to go, but like you leave them overnight and like, especially the blacks or something, if I leave black on there, it's basically just a black wash. Like I can't reconstitute that on the palette. There's just too much moisture in it. So that's a little bit annoying. I agree with you there.
Yeah. But, I just always good to be collecting this information. So I want to hear if anybody has had like critical failures on the caps for Pro Acryl paints. And moving on. Right. Is it time? Could we jump into the best thing I've ever created like according to Instagram metrics and Twitter metrics? Could we
the fact that you got such a high count on Twitter definitely points to this being probably the greatest achievement that you've ever had. I think.
You might be right.
Ever.
Yeah. Or you might be right.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you following along at home, Twitter is a hellscape. The only reason to develop a Twitter account is so that eventually you can stab like a corporation or someone you don't like. It is an offensive. It's offensive in every sense of the word. It is like offensive, but it is also a social media platform designed for you to go on the offense. It is an aggressive, confrontational social media site. That is the purpose of Twitter. That is why it has been successful. So in the past 2 weeks, I have had my two best quotation marks best Twitter posts.
Highest ranking? I don't know.
Highest number of likes. There's a lot of ways you can interpret the amount of engagement or whatever.
That's true. There's no dislike button on Twitter,
So since we last talked, Casey, I have had my two absolute most liked Twitter posts ever. Now, the first one is a classic. It makes total sense. The first one was I said that there should be female Space Marines. And I pointed out that the new Horus Heresy game is 18 legions of dudes, and somewhere somebody has a unit of Sisters of Silence. And there's a variety of problems with that, from representation to just like, man, I could really use some more female heads around here. But anyway, that is a classic Twitter post. Now I do truly believe that there should be female Space Marines, but in terms of just like pulling out my Twitter knife and just like wildly swinging around at the internet, this is the sort of post that'll get engagement, that'll get comments, and that will get likes because it was right. My opinion is right, and that's why it will get likes, because it's right. Now, just saying.
That's how Twitter works.
Right. Now,
I'm with you.
It's all relative, based on our mini painting community, based on the size of my Twitter account. Like a normal tweet, like a picture of me editing and like a cat watching me, 100 likes, something like that. Picture of a work in progress Space Marine, 100 likes, 200 likes, something like that. Now you post a strong 280 character argument for female Space Marines.
Yeah, an egregious affront to the Emperor of Mankind.
Oh, that took off. Now, part of the reason that got so much engagement and Twitter kept encouraging people to like and engage with that is because there were some active users in that discussion thread.
Mm-hmm.
To the point there were like a couple of people who were so against female Space Marines that like literally hundreds of replies from like individual users over the course of like 36 hours. To the point where I'm like, as a kindness, should I block this person so they can get some sleep? Like this is out of hand. Like this is
to help them not, just continually check Twitter, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Normally, if you're involved in like a good internet argument, it's like 5 or 6 replies is like
right.
really starting to go above and beyond.
I mean, on Twitter, you're so limited, like, though, right?
Yeah, if you're in the like hundreds to the point where you haven't done anything else for multiple days in a row, it's like,
I mean, so, as much as I think that would make sense to block them for their own sake, like, I also think that that's not going to help them. So maybe just let them tire themselves out and go take a nap afterwards.
It even crossed my mind, like, look, do I respond and be like, look, I'm going to give you an hour to read this, to make sure you've read this response, and then I'm going to block you. It's for your own good. I need you to like take a nap, find some other interests.
Right. Take that hour to start a new Twitter account.
Right. Make a new Twitter account. Yeah. But in an hour, I am going to block you because this is not good for anybody. Like, yes, you are propelling my Twitter post about female Space Marines up to 950 likes, but at what cost? This is coming at the cost of your health. Like, you are paying for this, and I feel responsible, and the responsible thing to do here is to block you so you can go have a little nap. Like, that's the responsible thing. You've been up for 36 hours. Like, this is...
You can tell the timestamps of every 10 minutes, like, they haven't slept in days.
During this time, I have gotten a solid night's sleep, but when I wake up in the morning and start scrolling, like, I can see that you have not. And
oh, man.
Anyway. So that is an example of what I see as like a quintessential Twitter post. Like that, like if you want to grow your Twitter account, there you go. That's the secret sauce. That's what the entire platform is for. Yeah. Just stoking anger, stoking anger with a core nugget of actually being right about female Space Marines and how it's ridiculous that they don't exist already and that they will exist at some point. And
They will at some point. I mean, we're going to get to the point where Warhammer is going to be destroyed and started over. And it's going to have to happen at some point. Like, we're coming to that. I mean, honestly, as soon as, like, Games Workshop takes a dip and they're just like, man, things just aren't going well. Like Warhammer Fantasy Battles, like, man, like 6th edition, 7th edition. Oh, man, we're just not doing so hot. Here, we got to shake things up. Blow it all up and start over. Yes.
It's possible that they're just playing cards, and that's their card that they're holding in their hand. That's their.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. Because I think female Space Marines will sell like hotcakes. Like it is another excuse to refresh the Space Marine lines, which is how they make most of their money. So maybe they thought about doing that with the Primaris refresh, and they decided no, we're holding that back. That's their emergency money card. But female Space Marines will sell like hotcakes. It's the correct thing to do. We all need more, female heads in our bits collection.
Oh, anyway. Okay, just on this topic. So I was looking through the Imperial whatever army list. There is just one female commissar that you can buy for that army. And I did find that to be a little awkward. Which also is part of what's annoying about the army in general. Like the Jungle Fighters have female options, and I think they're really cool. Like they got like cool G.I. Jane thing going on. It's cool. And I think you can only find it from like 15 years ago. It was a Games Day model for some convention. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, because I think there was a female Catachan like a couple years ago.
The Catachan stuff, yes.
Okay. And then they've been teasing images of there are more and possibly better options coming for Imperial Guard. But
and that's true. They are. But I don't want to derail the whole thing. I just thought I should mention that's
topic.
Something that I found, yeah.
Okay. So my most engagement, most liked Twitter post ever for anyone who cares got 950 likes on the topic of female Space Marines. And, basically I'm like, wow, that's... All right, what a price to pay, but we'll break 1,000 likes one of these days. I just got to think of something spicier,
Something even better.
Something even better.
More deranged.
More deranged.
Just left field.
Yeah. So to jump right to it, I've got a Twitter post at 1,700 likes right now. This is far breaking all personal records, all Twitter records for miniature painting, anything. I've done it. I've cracked the code. I've made something stupid enough that sticks in the brain in all the wrong ways.
Yes.
And
that's a good way to put it.
For all of you waiting for the secret
picture
here, night goblins slightly converted to be wearing clownfish onesies. Boom. Boom. The night goblins in their stupid little cloaks or their robes, except the kind of along the back of the robe and then on the hood of the robe, just converted to look like an Ocellaris clownfish, a Nemo fish, if you will.
Yeah, for the layman's out there.
What was the father's name? Melvin? Marvin. Okay. Yeah, Nemo and Marvin.
Probably won't. No, it's Merlin, right?
Yeah, it is.
I don't remember. I have 2 children, and I've seen that movie more times than I can count. But no, I don't remember his name at all. Is it Marvin, Marlin, or Merlin? Why would it be Marlin? That's like
Nemo.
fish.
Nemo was barely in that movie. Nemo is
for sure.
The MacGuffin of that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
The main character, forget his name. Yeah, I worked at a tropical fish store when that movie came out.
We'll
talk about
obviously.
That later.
Yeah. Look, anytime we get into some fish tank stuff, I'm all about it. I want to hear some more of that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a fun little project with just a little bit of green stuff. Padded out the hood of the goblin's cloak, cape, robes. Padded out his back to try to get the fin shape in there. Sprayed the little buggers orange. Put those white stripes in the right places. And from the side, the stupid goblins look like clownfish, and then you turn them around 90 degrees, look at them head on, it's just a stupid goblin face. It's all angry in there.
Like right in the chest, like if they're wearing a freaking like sports animal outfit, like a mascot. Just a face in the chest.
Well, so first off, I'm not just bragging about my 1,700 likes on Twitter. I mean... what I'm really doing is saying that humanity has redeemed itself by reacting to those stupid goblins in that way. I was convinced that the only road to success on Twitter, as defined by people saying that they like your picture, is to post spicy conflict garbage. But it turns out if you just post a really stupid paint job, you can break through all those barriers and just really bring a little bit of deranged joy to people. And
yes,
I posted those clownfish goblins, those goblins wearing their clownfish onesies. I put those on Instagram, and that's my best Instagram post now too. So, guess I'm gonna have to make a dang video about goblins wearing clownfish onesies.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I gotta know how you did it. Like,
Yeah.
how did you get these fish shapes? Did you find fish? Did you glue fish on the back? Are they real fish? And of course, the most important question is, how big is the tank?
Yeah, I know. That's the comment. That's how you get that engagement. You just pulling back those old jokes, you know?
You got to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That just seems ripe right there. It's low-hanging fruit. It's good to go.
That's a good Twitter post there. If you can really make PETA angry, then you can get that Twitter engagement. Yeah.
That's true. Actually, that's a good point. That would be amazing, man. If you get PETA involved, like, yeah, you're going somewhere. Yeah.
Stir it all up. Yeah.
Yeah. Still never gonna get over that whole thing, but you know. It's still the dumbest shit I've ever
heard. I put that beta into a 15-gallon tank, and he lasted like 3 months before he died. So
that's about the average, right? Like, that's not.
I mean, they only last like, I think like 2 years is like decently long, and if you're buying them from Petco, which I did, like they're at least like 6 months when they've got their fully grown fins and they're in those tiny little cups that they sell them in with the like weird blue juice that they sell them in. Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, and then I do have an Ocellaris clownfish next to me here. Old Albert, I got it on Craigslist in 2008. So,
you know, maybe that should be part of it. It's like, hi, I'm Brent, and I'm obviously capable of keeping fish alive. Like, clearly, I've had these fish for a long time.
I'm just going to jinx this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Next week, turns out.
He lived with a really weird guy in South Boston for 3 or 4 years, and then I bought him, and he lived with me for 14 years, and
I'll do you in, yeah.
He looks hungry. I should probably feed him. Anyway.
I mean, just get the footage before, you know, so that you have that, like, it's just a quick thing. You don't have to, like, you know, be like, I had to go out and buy a new one. It's obviously not the same fish.
Yeah. Well, look, we're all slaves to the algorithm, and the Goobertown Hobbies brand, it's just all going to be goblins in various animal onesies from here on out. So nobody take it. It's mine. Sense. I thought of it first. But, you know.
Yeah.
If you want to pay homage to, you know, clownfish onesies, goblins, you know, welcome that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love to see what you come up with. But don't you muscle in on my Twitter monopoly on goblins and stupid animal onesies. That's all I ask.
Yeah. Now I just want to take like a toy fish, and I'll just like cut the head off, and I'll wrap some string around it, just attach it to the top of the goblin, and be like, this is what you meant, right? This little goblin's got like a shark head. Like, look at that. Now I'm gonna do it. I gotta do it. See how far that goes. That'll be the comment too. Just paying homage to Goobertown. Just like this taped on head. It's Petey.
You get those fake rivalries going on in the social medias. I'm coming for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm gonna try and see which one works.
All right, we're gonna transition here. Coming back to, I like these running jokes or running pet peeves, but the Night Goblin set, a sprue for the Night Goblin set has like 8 repeats of the same bit on it, of one of the goblin arms holding a quiver, and there is one variant of that, the goblin arm holding the quiver. There's a couple variants of the goblin holding a bow, but there's like no option to put a quiver on the goblin's back and like have like a empty hand or anything. It's if the goblin has a bow, the goblin is holding a quiver.
It's reaching back or whatever.
Maybe is that how it's supposed to put it? No, I think it's just holding it off to the side. But anyway,
I mean there are, but I got something around here. I should probably pull out.
The goblin sprue has like 6 or 8 copies of the same exact bit on it, and this is a pet peeve that I will continue to harp on whenever I see it. If you're a company and you are spending the tens of thousands of dollars to get a mold made for polystyrene sprues, take the time to like make some slightly different bits. Like you should not be putting repeat bits on that.
It does seem like a waste, right? Like,
right?
Because why? I mean, okay, like I understand that those kits are old.
Mm-hmm.
They've been reboxed several times, and they were hand sculpted back in the day, and whatever. But
it's
like,
not that old.
Were they? I don't think they were 3D sculpted though.
There's been a couple of kits of it might have been right on the border of I don't know.
Still,
yeah.
Either way, not really a good excuse for it. Just make a slightly different quiver. Put an extra arrow in there. Make the angle of the wrist slightly different so that it doesn't look like they're all holding the exact same quiver at the exact same angle. Like it's. Well, like the archers especially, like you line them up and put them on square bases, like in a block, and they are all the exact same angle. Like every single one of them is holding the bow at pretty much the same angle. Some of the newer ones, like the Warcry, I think they have a kill team one, and some other ones that are like definitely different. Like the archers, they're holding them kind of sideways and down type thing. But it would be nice to have some like options for that, because I have like 40 of those and they pretty much just look identical.
So this is a quick point, but anytime I see a sprue that has multiple repeats of, especially like arms, if there's multiple repeats of heads or arms, it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? The price of this sprue compared to like what you're paying your sculptors. Tell that sculptor you need another quiver on your desk by the end of business. Like tell that sculptor like
but sir, this is going to take me a week. I don't care.
No, it's not. We both know it's going to take you 2 hours to like put a couple more arrows in that quiver. Like
this seems like a job for someone who can do that can then, I don't know, sell extra bits that are just of slight variations, and somehow also be part of the company that won't then sue them.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It would be nice.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what we need. Upgrade packs for goblins.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, the last time I complained about this was when I was putting together some Conquest minis. And especially like the dwarves, there's a block of miniatures. They're all standing next to each other, like all in nice little rows and columns. So it's really obvious if they're holding above their head a very, very distinct axe, or very just there should not have been two of the exact axe on that sprue. There definitely shouldn't have been three of them, like it's vary that up. Yeah.
Like I can definitely forgive like some bodies that are a little similar if like the arms, legs, and head are all different, because it's kind of hard to tell. But when you start getting like, well, 3 of these guys are in the same pose, that's a little weird since there's only 10 of them.
Right. Exactly.
It's like a feel bad kind of thing. Yeah. Like it's not fun. It doesn't like add to the immersion of like the point of what you're doing. Right.
We advocate for a better future for miniature painting. So anytime we see sprues with repeats of the exact same bit, that's going to cause the silhouette of the miniature to look exactly the same as the silhouette of the miniature next to it, we're going to be like, hey, maybe put a mace in that kit. Maybe have a goblin just holding a single arrow in his other hand, or 2 arrows, or an empty quiver because he's an idiot and he forgot his arrows at home. Like this is that empty quiver is even easier. Like you just take the bit you already have and cut off the arrows. That's easy. Like,
actually, that's a good point. Yeah, you already have the capability of doing that. Like that's the answer. Is you just do that. And he's like, oh no, I have none. I like that. That's actually pretty clever. Not as clever as clownfish, though.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Man, it's a whole new era. And I've been thinking about it. Dude, I think I could do like a hammerhead one. Just put some like hammerhead shark.
Yes.
And I was going through all the different possibilities. People are going to want to see Dory. They're going to want to see Jacques, who's like a shrimp, I think. So that might be harder.
Oh, yeah. He's like a French shrimp from Australia somehow. It's a thing, right?
It's fine.
It's fine. He floated all the way across the oceans.
I gotta get the really recognizable ones. And then I just gotta have one with like stupid cat ears. That would be good.
I mean, that seems like an easy enough conversion to be like, oh, look, he's got like cat ears and a little goblin head. That's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or like you give him the ultimate onesie is like the floppy bunny ear one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Yeah. And then you can put on a little nose with some whiskers and like you got it all transformed right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you definitely draw on the whiskers like face paint, like really dumb face paint. Yes.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see where this takes you. I think that things are bright.
Look,
future's bright for Goobertown animals.
Back to the main topic. It is possible to just put out some wholesome pictures of fun minis that you painted and get a good response. It is possible to occasionally succeed on social media without just kind of starting arguments.
Yeah.
And in a very real and not joking way, that does bring me a little bit of hope.
Right. No, there are good people out there. It's just the internet is full of, everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah. And that is a bit unfortunate, but I don't know. I think overwhelmingly, like even through Twitter, like everything's mostly positive for this, like as the hobby in general, right? Like we're on a positive uptick. We've been kind of for a while. There's obvious outliers out there, but overwhelmingly positive.
So I painted a rainbow space marine yesterday.
I know, and you got an overwhelmingly positive response.
I got about 6-to-1 positive response.
That's real. Those are numbers. Statistics don't lie. Yes, I did read a lot of the not so good comments and people being complete jackasses on that. But you know what? More people than not were supportive and
it is true.
Positive.
It is true. Yep. And actually, I think that was fairly consistent with what I saw last year during Pride Month. So it is, looking at once you get hundreds or thousands of thumbs ups and thumbs downs, the ratio of like 6% open-minded, tolerant, welcoming people, six of those for every one. I think turd is the name. So turd.
Are you just calling him that, or is that an actual person?
Yeah, turds. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, turds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of shitheads. Like.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to say it. I'll say it.
and it is heartwarming to know that there are more welcoming, open-minded, tolerant people out there than there are turds. So
yeah. I think that's generally the case. That's kind of my point. Like the internet's still the internet, but right. I still feel like we're in a good spot. Like things are going okay.
The balance is still on the right side of things mostly.
Right. We're okay.
Still a lot of turds out on the internet though. You're gonna have that.
Yeah. It reminds me of a song that I wish I could play on this podcast. I think we'd get in trouble if we did, but if you haven't heard of the band Bloodywood, there's a really good song called DanaDan. I'll try and make sure that's linked in the description, but if you are a turd, I'd like you to go listen to that song. Thank you.
Sorry to all the turds we've offended.
It passed the hour mark, and we're fine.
Don't be a turd.
No, even if you're not, it's a cool song. You should listen to it.
Being a turd, and we'll be here when you stop being a turd. Yeah.
That's basically what that song is. Yeah. So it's literally what that is.
Well, it's like, you leave that link, I'll check it out, man.
I think you should. I think you'll enjoy it. It's some good old folk metal from the land of India.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you again for joining us in another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.